this is my review of Death Note. Okay, so as it turns out, I was wrong. So, as it turns out, Light actually does not take the offer to take the Shinigami Eyes, pointing out that what he's trying to do is rule over the world as a god, more or less, it kind of is a bit of a conflict of interest to take an ability that would help him use Death Note, but would also would also guarantee that he wouldn't be able to reign over the world as long as he wants to. So, it quickly becomes apparent that Light does not want to take that deal. Meanwhile, the other Shinigami, in their own dimension, are kind of concerned as to where Ryuk has wandered off, and they're not entirely sure, although they're not entirely sure what happened. All they know is that Ryuk seems to may have been right about leaving his Death Note in the human world, and also remark on the fact that for whatever reason he needs 2 Death Notes. That's a little weird thing that Ryuk does, but it's never explained why. So in any case, Ryuk realizes that Light actually is not willing to take the Death Note, and even treats him kind of like a person rather than a Shinigami. He's very upfront with Ryuk about what his goals are, and isn't really fearful of the fact that Ryuk is a bit of a Shinigami, and therefore is kind of godlike. So Ryuk realizing. Afterwards, Light actually gives Ryuk some advice that he could take what he learned there and actually make the Shinigami world a better place, pointing out that after finding out from Ryuk that the Shinigami world is kind of falling apart and just slowly decaying. So Ryuk, realizing that Light is a bit of a positive thinker, even remarks so to Light, who says that he kind of does need to be a positive thinker if he's planning to kill all the psychopaths in the world to make a perfect ideal world. At which point he randomly gets an idea that pops into his head, wondering that since he can manipulate the cause of death and the time of death, he wonders if he can also manipulate other things as well. And sure enough, he queues up a couple of deaths throughout the next day to see what would happen. And the first 3 die without a hitch, but they die in rather mysterious ways. So the first guy draws a pentagram on the wall. The second guy draws an unintelligible note, and the third guy runs into the staff bathroom. All 3 of which die of heart attacks immediately following these. So it becomes apparent that now Light can in fact manipulate people to an extent. As he later explains, he actually scheduled 6 people to die. The 3 people he died were control experiments to see who would die and how, and then he tries some more outrageous causes of death, which naturally didn't tank. So after realizing this, he realizes that he can actually manipulate a person's mindset prior to their death, provided it's something that actually realistic that they can think of on their own. So, and with that, he actually stages a plan to actually get the guy following him to reveal his name to him. And with that, he actually used the Death Note to manipulate a robber that tried to rob a gas station and was caught, and was then let go shortly after, as well as calling up one of his female classmates to actually go on a date with her to actually get the guy in the position he wants. So as I said, he takes the girl on a date. They're going to see a place called Spaceland, which the girl remarks she hasn't seen since she was in elementary school. And the guy stalking Light naturally follows them onto the bus, although he doesn't suspect that Light is Kira, but isn't willing to put it completely out of the question just yet. As they're on the bus, getting ready to go to where they are, the criminal whose name Light wrote in the Death Note actually boards the bus with a loaded gun and takes the entire bus hostage. And naturally, Light tries to communicate with the girl sitting next to him that he will try and take the gun when he gets close, and naturally does so that the guy behind them actually can see it. At which point he reveals himself to actually be an FBI agent named Ray Pember, and is actually in Japan investigating Kira, and points out that if the push comes to shove, he'll actually handle it. So So Ray Pember is an FBI agent. And Light surmises that he was brought in by L to actually investigate Kira and the police station, pointing out that he'll need an outside help to actually do so. But then Light actually does something stupid? Question mark. He accidentally drops a note, and Pember mistakes it, believes it to be the note of that uses Light's message as incriminating evidence, and believes that Light will be shot if he's found out. However, the criminal investigates, finds out that it's actually just a note for a date, and sends Light on his merry way, or at least as much of on your merry way as you are when you're being held hostage at gunpoint by a guy on a bus. But in any case, this note actually serves double duty, because as it turns out, this little note was actually written on a piece of the Death Note, and now the guy can actually see Ryuk and notably panics. So he starts opening fire on Ryuk, with Ryuk being unfazed, because as we found out last time, Shinigami actually can't be killed as long as they have lifespans remaining on. So basically the guy unloads his gun in a wild panic. Everybody thinks he's hallucinating. He runs off the bus and gets hit by a car. All according to Light's plan. So basically, Light engineered a bus kidnapping using the Death Note, all to get Ray Pember's name so that he could eliminate Ray Pember, which is kind of nuts. This entire episode is just to show that yes, Light can manipulate people to a degree using the Death Note, and that's some interesting power for the Death Note to have. So it does open up the idea that yes, now Light can actually manipulate people using the Death Note, and that if he wants to, he can actually manipulate them in other ways by handing them a piece of the Death Note, which will in turn make them see Ryuk, and then he can use Ryuk as part of his plans. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic going forward if Light continues to use that as the best way to set traps. So yeah, Light can basically use the Death Note to set up traps to make himself look innocent by basically setting it up to look like an accidental death, which it does. But in a court of law, this will chalk up to an accidental death. Guy walks onto a bus in an attempt to rob it and hijack it and take it to Spaceland. Guy sees something and hallucinates, starts shooting at it, and then runs off the bus and gets hit by a car. In a court of law, that basically amounts to a guy going crazy and running in front of a car and dying. So yeah, if Light is able to do all of that, then who's to say he can't do it again? Who's to say he can't engineer entire things to just get people to kill themselves? That's the terrifying thing. He can use this to make people kill themselves. He doesn't necessarily have to write time of death. He can make it look like they killed themselves out of either fear or make it look like suicide. He can do whatever he wants. Now he knows that he can manipulate people to a certain degree. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic going forward, seeing how Light uses this power to his advantage. But in any case, that's my review of Death Note. What do you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that I'm my way saying thanks, so be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!